Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 4 of the Rooted in Riv podcast. I am your host, Eric Pacheco, and later on, I will be joined by a very special guest from a school that has had tremendous impact on not only my life, but my journalism career. That's right, I will be joined by the head football coach of Valley View High School, Coach Eric Martinez. Valley View is actually where I attended high school for 4 years and where I wrote my first ever published article back in 2023. This article was written for the MVC Herald, the once student-run newspaper of Moreno Valley College. It doesn't even exist anymore. But that's where I got my start. It was my first ever published article, as I said, back in October of 2023, as Valley View was in the midst of one of their best seasons in a long time. Think about 7 or 8 years at that point. So this will be a kind of a cool moment for me, kind of a full circle, turn back the clock sort of thing, as I will be interviewing the now CIF championship head coach, Eric Martinez. And with that being said, let's get right to it. I'm pleased to be joined now by my guest, the leader of the CIF Southern Section Division 11 champions, the head football coach of the Valley View High School Eagles, Coach Eric Martinez. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, bud. Appreciate it.
Coach, at any level, I mean, it's extremely difficult to win a championship, high school, collegiately, professionally, Pop Warner, it doesn't matter. It's extremely difficult. I mean, what has this past week been like, kind of enjoying the thrill, the accomplishment of, accomplishing such a great feat of winning the CIF championship last weekend?
Well, it's funny because, I won a couple of championships before, but I never got to go to the state game. So, we played Saturday. We're at a big high because we won. And now in 2 days, I got to say, okay, moment's over. We got to start getting ready for the state game. So that was kind of tough, you know what I mean? Because, it was a big deal. Obviously, like you said, it's very hard to do, regardless of divisions. It's very hard to do to pull off 4 games in a row. And, it gets hard every week, and, the guys, like I said, they just, they just kept on going, you know what I mean? I mean, even though, like you said, we were down with a minute 30 seconds, they thought it was over, and they made guys that made plays that when they had to. Our kicker, I mean that guy, he's got ice in his veins, man. He just showed up and did what he had to do, and 2 weeks before that, we didn't even have a kicker. So it's that's football, though, you know what I mean? So like I said, to do that here was a big deal, obviously.
Right. Only the second championship in school history, the last one coming in 2016. You talked about your kicker right there, Efrain Dominguez. What's going through your head to put the trust in him? I mean, for a kid like that to come through with, all the pressure in the world is on him to come through. What was that moment like leading up to it, getting your guys self in field goal range and then obviously seeing him, put it through the uprights?
I mean, I think I was more nervous than he was because I didn't even look. So, I went to talk to him like, hey, man, are you good? Are you ready? And I just saw how calm he was. And I'm thinking, man, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to mess him up. You know what I mean? And make it bigger than what it, obviously what it was. But, I saw like he was like, hey, this is normal, like any other kick to me. You know what I mean? And so I let him go and I went and freaked out by myself over there in the corner. And like I said, didn't look. I said, I'm going to let the crowd tell me if he made it. And then obviously he kicked it through and everybody cheered. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess he did what he's supposed to do. But, that kid, for not ever being a kicker, football wise, you know what I mean? He stepped up to that role, took it on. And, I pretty much worked around his schedule because he's a soccer guy and he has soccer tournaments and all that. But, I said, look, man, I just need you to get your kicks in. And when I need you, deliver. And he did, man. So it was, like I said, it was a big moment for him. And, I know he's really excited what he did. And, he talked about he didn't want to let us down. I go, but, he just got ice. He's Iceman, man. That boy was just awesome.
Absolutely. And you kind of touched on there, the crowd. There's a big social media movement and leading up to the game last week, because of kind of the subpar attendance numbers that were there for the semifinals week, really wanted the city Moreno Valley to rally around Valley.
And they did. They did. They showed up. Yeah. It was pretty packed. And, the city came out and supported, and it was cool to see. And hopefully they continue that going forward. But yeah, it was good. It was good to see that from the city. It was really awesome.
Absolutely. And then after the game, there was a bit of a scuffle between both teams. Obviously
Yeah,
emotions are raging. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of the thrill on one side and the agony of defeat on the other side.
of
Uh,
course.
Baldwin Park coach had a few choice comments about the players' reactions. I mean, in a moment like that, how do you and your staff try to handle, kind of situations like that?
A little early to reflect, but I mean the ups and downs your team has gone through, to culminate in a Division 11 championship appearance. What does it say about the season and the team?
I'm proud of my guys, man. We came a long way. I'm not proud of how we reacted and how we retaliated afterward. I mean, I told their coach we wasn't gonna say Kansas because their kids ran over here, flicking us off, saying all kind of weirdos. So they got lack of leadership over there. So I was trying to prevent all that, and they try to act like they got control of the kids, which they don't, and that's what happens after. But
I mean, you don't want that to happen. Obviously, I don't coach that. I don't teach that. So when he said those comments, I took it kind of personal because he knows me, and I don't. That's not what I want people to say about the program. Um, you know, but it's both sides. I mean, we could go back and start saying what they said. Start from the beginning and before pregame, it was they were doing some stuff on our sideline. So I don't like talking about other programs, other coaches. Like they do what they do, we do what I do. But at the end of the day, these kids, they were really excited. I get it. I don't think, it was meant anything bad towards them. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And like I said, I mean, if we go back, you see that a couple of their kids charge our kids. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and it's like you said, emotions are high. You know what I mean? And we try to control as much as possible. I told the kids, we practice that as far as okay, when the game's over, hey, we got to be, we're gonna do a presentation whether we win or lose. You got to, take it. You know what I mean? So granted, if you win by a field goal at the end, that hides even more. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But my hats off to Coach Maxey. I think he does a great job over there, and there'll be more playoff games in the future, most definitely. So we'll see.
Right on. Kind of switching gears here to, kind of the building of this team and then the program in these past couple of years. You took over in 2024.
Yeah.
I haven't shared this with you, but I'm actually a Valley View alum.
Oh wow. Oh,
I graduated
fabulous.
in 2023. So, kind of in my time at the school, I mean, it was far from a football school. I mean, we had
Right.
5 wins in the 4 years that I was there.
Yeah.
So it just, I mean, in your short time, 2023 kind of started the uprise of the program. I believe they had 4 wins that year. And then you
Yeah.
come in last year, and I believe you took the team to the semifinals, correct?
Second round, quarterfinal.
Around
We lost the
quarterfinal,
quarterfinal.
sorry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
That's all right.
obviously, you come through and you win the championship this year. So how has that kind of been, building
Uh,
this program and turning it around?
I think last year when I got here, I knew it was going to be obviously it was a rebuild. You know what I mean? And I had a good solid core kids, and they bought into what I was bringing to the table, and obviously some success that we had as far as during the season, the more wins and stuff like that. I think they saw that okay, maybe we got to give this guy a chance. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I think the kids were here, like Coach Mullen. I mean, you know, I wasn't here. I was obviously just know what was going on, but it was a lot of you know, you know, we had to get a lot of things worked out before we could even play football here. You know what I mean? And we start with the little things, weight room, how to dress right, all that stuff, and they weren't used to that. And I think and discipline. I mean, that's I can't even tell you how many times we lost a game because the other team is more disciplined than you. And you try to little things here and there to make them understand why we do the things we do. I think at the end of the day, the kids really embrace that. You know what I mean? Especially winning helps, obviously. You know what I'm saying? And I think they thought they fell short last year. My hats off to South Pass. It was a great game. Um, but we were winning at half, and then we didn't finish in the second half. And maybe that to me was like, hey, see, when you don't play 4 quarters, this is what happens. You know what I mean? And you got to play 4 quarters, or it's not going to work, And I think this year the kids really, maybe they didn't want to have that feeling anymore. You know what I mean? And the ones that came back, really took control of the program and checked each other, made sure that we're doing the right things, and like I said, we still went from there.
Right. I mean, what are some of your, I guess, core beliefs in building a program? What are some of its, the culture aspects that you really try to instill in your players and your guys to, create a winning environment, not only on the field, but like you kind of say with the discipline aspects and,
Yeah.
all the other extracurriculars.
Yeah, well, I think again, I think with most programs, I think you really want to instill the base. At least I do, is discipline. And it's hard. You know what I mean? If you're going from a place where there was none, I mean, not saying there wasn't before I got here, but I'm saying it was a hard. It's a tough thing to instill that to kids that maybe they don't want it. You know what I'm saying? And you have to make examples of some kids and be like, look, it's either this way or no way. I think every program wants to win, obviously, and I think if you show that good things could happen if you do A, B, and C right, you're you should be okay. Now you might do A, B, and C right, you might still lose. That's football too, but
Mhm.
if we have to have a starting point, and I think that's where it's like I said, I mean, up until what they wear. Like I tell them what to wear every game, and this is what you wear, and black socks, black shoes, black everything, and if you don't have white, you don't have it. Well, there's going to be consequences, and then I got to hold them to that. Um, you know, at first they were kind of like, what the hell we have to do this for? I go, but
Mhm.
those are little things that about it's going to show some discipline as far as if you can't dress right, how do you expect to play right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they start to believe in that. You know what I mean? And eventually, I don't have to say anything. They start checking each other like, hey, why don't you have your socks on? Why don't you have your shoes on? No sandals. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's where you got to start with, I think, and that's what those are little things that eventually become big things where they start once you get them checking each other, and that's it starting to wear off and work. You know.
Mhm. Who are some of your key players that, you'd like to kind of shout out here, who have kind of stepped up as leaders maybe on your team, not
Yeah.
only for this season, but maybe, a couple guys who were there last year, experienced that loss and then obviously coming through this year as well.
Well, we got to start obviously with our quarterback, Jesse Vega. I mean, that guy. I mean, we put a lot on his shoulders the last 4 games, especially. I mean, he became more of a power back than a thrower. And what's funny is the kids, it's coming and you still couldn't stop it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that kid took on the role and said, okay, well, if I could do it with my arm, but I could also do it with my feet. So he's probably one of the, obviously our we go as he goes. You know what I mean? Alex Ramirez, also our receiver, made a clutch catch against South Pass to get us down there to score again. And, you know, um, he was a big contributor last year as well as this year. He's also a senior. Um, we had a kid that didn't play last year, Michael Johnson, who, you know, had some great issues and stuff like that, but he cleaned it all up and wanted to play. And, that's number 11, the running back. I mean, try tackling that kid every day. You know what I mean? That kid, he also stepped on both sides of the ball. You know what I mean? Nas Taylor, also senior. He played outside back for us, also running back. That was like, we go from pounding to now speed, so that changes it up as far as what you have to do defensively to stop us. Those are probably the top 4 kids, and we had a sophomore who was all CIF last year, inside linebacker Bronson Pulu, who he just got better as the year went on. You know what I mean? As for only being a sophomore, I think he leads the team in tackles and stuff like that. So those are the guys that have to have good games in order for us to be successful.
Mhm. What's the relationship like with the administration at Valley? Obviously, kind of starts right there, in building a winning program. You kind of got to move all together. And, what's kind of that, relationship with them been like?
I mean, they've been really supportive of me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're behind on what I of what I'm doing. Um, you know, it's like anything. I got put in a position where I don't know anybody. That's tough. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not only football but everybody. Like I don't know a soul on this campus. You know what I mean? So last year was a little harder, obviously, because you know, they don't know me, what I'm bringing to the table, who is this guy, because the one who hired me, Dr. Rice, left. So even at least when he was here, at least that's the only person that I knew, the principal, right?
Right.
But once he left, Mr. Gilead was all took control of the reins, and he was pretty much the same. He was behind me. He you know he he didn't really step on my toes at all. You know what I'm saying? He let me coach these guys and do what I think is right for the program. And if I needed something, I asked them. I mean these guys gave us we got like 4 sets of uniforms in 2 years, and that's a tribute to them because they helped us do that. And my AD Jonathan Kane is awesome. He's you know he takes care of us. Just like you know like before you need anything, stuff like that too. So, I can't say nothing bad about the administration. They been behind me the whole time.
And to close out here, moving forward, you guys have seemingly reached the mountaintop, winning the CIF championship. But like you touched on at the start, still got the state playoffs going
Yeah.
on, hopefully for the next couple of weeks if you guys continue to roll. But then, moving forward, how do you continue to evolve and, take this program to the next level?
Well, I think also that shows the community like, look, maybe if they didn't think of us as like a football school, maybe now they do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because again, winning attracts players. You know what I'm saying? So, hopefully that with the youth and stuff like that, they want to, oh, what's going on over here? I mean, they want CIF. Let's see what's going on. Stuff like that. Those are things that I think help us build as a program. Having the administrators behind me as far as okay, I want to run camps for the youth and stuff like that, get them involved, open up the field so they can play there and stuff like that. Those are things that I think you need to do in order to continue building. You know what I mean? Because yeah, we won, but if all of my seniors graduate and I have nobody to replace them with, we got to start all over again. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
programs that have Pop Warner program and stuff we do like we have in the city, just they're not here. You know what I mean? But once you start getting all those kids to see, have nights where they could come and look at the school, stuff like that, just things like that to get them interested about what's going on in Valley View. I think that's going to make us eventually a better program. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to start with the little guys, and you got to get them coming. And keep the kids going somewhere else. Not only
Right.
my school, but Vista del Lago, Orange Vista. We're all close. Mobile's down the street. You know, you got to give them a reason that why they want to come here, right? And
Mhm.
obviously winning helps. But other than that, you got to like, see why they want to be here. And okay, well, they're doing something right over there, and I want to be a part of that and make them want to be here.
Absolutely, coach. That's all for me. You got anything else you want to add?
No, I want to appreciate you, man. I didn't know you were an alumni. That's cool. You know what I mean? And you graduated 20,
23, 23.
so right before I got here.
Yeah, right before, year
Yeah.
before.
Okay. No, man, thank you for, interviewing me. I appreciate it. Like I said, anything I could do to help you in this. If you ever need to interview our kids or anything like that, let me know. You have my number. So,
All right,
you know,
absolutely, coach. I
uh,
appreciate it. You got your game tomorrow. Where can we
yeah.
watch you? Who you guys taking on? Kind of give us the rundown on that.
So tomorrow we'll be at Valley Center High School in I think it's San Diego County. We're with game is at 7:30, not 7. They're taking on but 2 Rooter buses for us and stuff like that. So I hope the community comes out if they can. I know it's a little bit of ways, but you're going to see some good football, and hopefully we win the game and on to bigger and better things. Hopefully a state championship.
Absolutely, Coach. This is my guest, Valley View head football coach Eric Martinez. Once again, thank you so much for your time and best of luck moving forward. Hopefully, continue this run that you guys have been on.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Make sure you follow along with Valley View tonight as they look to continue their playoff run as they take on Valley Center in the CIF SoCal Division 6 AA Football Regional Final Championship. They will be on the road at Valley Center High School in San Diego County tonight at 7:30 p.m. To find information on how to live stream that game, check out CIF-SS Sport on Instagram. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at the Eric Pacheco, on X at Eric Pacheco ASU, and here on YouTube, like and subscribe at Eric Pacheco Pod. To stay up to date with anything Valley View football, make sure you follow them on Instagram at valleyview.football. Huge appreciation once again to the Valley View's head football coach, the Division 11 champions, Coach Eric Martinez. Thank you to everyone for watching. Have a blessed day.